Bubba's supporters showed up early this morning, holding signs and declaring their thoughts about 98 Rock's morning drive guy facing animal cruelty charges.
I think it's a waste of taxpayer money. The guy did nothing illegal. There's nothing wrong with what he did. And the same people that are complaining are the same ones that are eating bacon and eggs for breakfast every morning.
Bubba is accused of mistreating a wild pig during a radio show nearly a year ago. It was a segment known as the Roadkill Barbecue. A listener brought the pig to the radio station parking lot. It was held down, castrated, and then its throat was slit. Animal rights activists are outraged, like Cindy Harris, who has a pig sanctuary in Fort Myers.
This pig was tortured, mutilated, and he had 10 minutes of nothing but pain and suffering and horror.
The defense plans on arguing the pig was killed just like hunters do in the wild. This just happened in a parking lot in South Tampa, live on the air. And the judges made it very clear the entertainment value has nothing to do with this case. So the question is, was the animal treated cruelly? Bubba sits listening as the defense team presents its closing statements about the castration and killing of Andy the wild pig at 98 Rock's parking lot last year.
This isn't the place for opinions. This isn't the place for morality. This is the place to take the facts and apply them to the law. That's your job.
The animal cruelty law in question, defense lawyers say, only deals with unnecessary pain and suffering. They say the pain the hog may have felt was minimal, but necessary to slaughter it. One lawyer pointed out there are many cases where animals endure pain, and it's legal.
We know that every time we watch a horse race, we watch that jockey just whipping the heck out of that horse. We know there's no prosecution for that, but we're going to talk about poking pigs.
Prosecutors concede there are situations where animals might endure pain, and legally it's considered necessary. But they argue this pig slaughter was not necessary. They say the animal was castrated and then killed purely for entertainment.
Let's cut the hog's throat for a nice effect to have blood run down the parking lot. Because it's for the show. Was that necessary?
Defense attorneys, though, insist it was necessary. They say hunters widely believe castrating a hog while it's still alive makes the meat taste better. The defense also reminded the jury they had two experts testify that the least painful way to kill a hog is to slit its throat. Bubba the Love Sponge Clem walked out of the courthouse a free man, hugging and thanking those involved with his case.
I have to thank the jurors, obviously, who could see through and read the letter of the law and realize that controversial radio isn't a crime, and the First Amendment did come through.
At issue was a stunt on Bubba's morning show on 98 Rock, the slaughtering of a wild boar, but beforehand it was castrated. The prosecution argued the pig suffered unnecessarily. It was animal cruelty. As evidence, it showed a videotape of the animal actually being castrated and its throat being slit, but the jury did not buy into it being cruel.
It was quick, it was clean, and pigs are slaughtered all the time. I had pork last night.
The only other evidence the state provided was an audio tape of Bubba's show that morning.
He's bleeding because he's been trying to bite out the cage here.
It may sound like the animal was hurt, but the jury foreman says he had no way of knowing what he was hearing was real or possibly made up just to entice listeners.
I would have liked to have seen the prosecution have some witnesses, have a vet up there of their own that could have told me that what that pig experienced was cruel.
But the prosecution did not call any expert witnesses, instead relying on the tapes to speak for themselves.
I don't know what additional evidence we could have presented as to the real issues in this case that could have assisted us in this prosecution. Really don't.
The prosecutor in this case admits this was a tough one, but he's convinced when he still reads the animal cruelty law in the state of Florida that what happened to that pig was against the law. But Bubba and his three co-defendants, a producer and two listeners, never believed they had broken the law. The hunter who killed the pig cried tears of joy when the verdict was read, and as he left the courthouse, he was still confused how such an uproar could happen over the killing of a wild animal.
I'm still pretty much don't understand what happened. I just like to go home.
I'm just so overwhelmed and exhausted that I just, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, you guys. I just got to go home and get in my hot tub or something.
As for any future stunts with animals, Bubba the Love Sponge says he doesn't have any planned. In Tampa, I'm Jan Thornburg, Fox 13 News.
We are the chair. You look younger, you look happier.
The celebration at 98 Rock popped off with a bubbly, and Bubba says he's back.
I continue to be myself. I continue to be politically driven, opinionated, outspoken, controversial, in your face, no holds bar.
Bubba the Love Sponge Clem emerged the victor from a week-long trial. He faced animal cruelty charges after a pig was slaughtered during his morning show, part of an on-air publicity stunt. The calls are still pouring in.
Well, you know, sir, I didn't do it. I had a hunter do it. I had one of your brethren do it and perform this slaughter as you would, sir, in the wild.
Former prosecutor Steve Crawford thinks the case was weak to begin with, and he's surprised at how state prosecutors handled it.
Quite frankly, the prosecution seemed to throw in the towel. They put on a minimal case. They had no experts. They had no one to basically explain why this was cruel and unusual.
They didn't call any expert witnesses because they couldn't find any.
But State Attorney Mark Ober says he's satisfied with the case his staffers put on.
He does not know what else he could have put on. The tape, in my opinion, speaks volumes.
Ober's only real regret is the outcome of the case. He says there's no sour grapes against the judicial system. He says it works, win or lose.
If I respect juries' opinions when the state prevails, I certainly respect it when we don't.
The public outcry was phenomenal. More than 1,000 pieces of mail, people disgusted with the slaughter. But Ober says that's not why he chose to press charges.
I will not be intimidated by outside influence. What I did was from the heart, and very simply, it was the right thing to do.
Thanks for your call, sir.
Bubba's just glad the whole thing's over. For a while there, he was nervous.
I'm just so glad that the system worked, and I was really, really scared.
Ober sticks to his guns.
I would have done it all over again.
And Bubba says he's through with animal stunts. In Tampa, Giselle Guerra, Fox 13 News.